Hi, welcome back to My Mom Life. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jordan, and today I am showing you how to make homemade donuts. We're making chocolate long johns. Let's get started. The first thing that you want to do is add your yeast and 1 tablespoon of sugar to your warm water and warm milk. You don't want the milk and water to be too hot. If you put your finger in, you just want it to feel like lukewarm, nothing too hot, and you want to let this sit for about 5 minutes so that you can see that the yeast is activated. It will get frothy and foamy on top, and then we are ready to move on to the next step. In the bowl of my KitchenAid mixer, I have my flour, and I'm going to add in my sugar and salt, and then our yeast mixture once it is proofed and ready to go. And then I'm going to add in our eggs, and I'm going to let this mix until it starts to come together. And once it starts to come together, you are going to add in your softened butter. This dough recipe was absolutely amazing. This was one of the best doughs that I've ever made. If you have any experience working with yeast and doughs, you know that sometimes they can be a big fail, but this one turned out so perfect. So I really hope that you try this. So now I'm going to add in my softened butter, like I said, and you're going to let this mix for quite a while until it starts to pull away from the bowl. And if it seems to be a little too sticky, just add in a little bit more flour until it isn't so sticky. It all depends on the temperature in your house, the humidity where you live, things like that. So you may have to adjust the amount of flour that you use in recipes like this. I noticed that my dough was a little too sticky, so like I said, if you notice that, just add in a little bit more flour, just a little bit at a time until it is the right consistency. You want it to start to pull away from the bowl, not sticking to the side so much, and be able to touch it without it sticking to your hand. So I let that come together and it started to pull away and become perfect, so I knew that it was good to go. As you can see, like when I take it off the dough hook, it's gonna be a little sticky because it is a dough. You don't want it dry, but it comes off of the dough hook without completely sticking all over it. So it was ready, and now I am just gonna pull it together into like a ball, and I put some oil. I put a little too much oil, you don't need this much, but put some oil in the bottom of my bowl and kind of coated my dough with it so that it doesn't dry out and it keeps it from sticking to the bowl. And so you're gonna coat your dough ball in oil or your bowl, however you're doing it, and then you're gonna cover it with a towel and let it rise for about an hour until it's doubled in size. After the first rise, you're going to punch your dough down and you're going to cover it with the towel again and let it rise and double in size one more time, so about another hour. And after that, you're ready to roll out your dough. So now that it has risen 2 times, we are going to roll it out. I have some flour on my countertop here, and I am going to roll this out into a rectangle, and I'm going to cut my long johns. You can cut your donuts into whatever shape you like. This is just what I'm showing you today. If you want to do circle donuts, do circle donuts. But this, like I said earlier, this dough is such a good donut dough. So I really hope that you try this recipe if you're interested in making homemade donuts. I just used a pizza cutter and cut the donuts in the shape that I wanted them, and then I laid them on a floured baking sheet and covered them once more to sit for about 30 minutes, and then we're ready to fry them. I know it's a lot of sitting and rising and waiting, but it is so worth it. Let me tell you, this donut dough, I mean, how many times can I say it? So good. They have been sitting for another 30 minutes, so it is time to fry them up. Yes, we're frying them, not baking them. These are serious donuts here, people. So we are going to fry them in a skillet with some oil. This is just vegetable oil, and I did 2 at a time because you don't want to overcrowd your pan. They'll stick together. The oil will cool down too much and it just won't work out. So I did 2 at a time, and once they were done, I put them on a lined paper towel lined baking sheet to catch any excess oil, and I let them cool completely, or almost. They were slightly warm when I frosted them. Now that our donuts are fried and they are cooling, we're going to make some frosting. Now, this frosting that you're seeing me make here was a big fail, and I'm showing you this because, you know, even if you find a recipe on Pinterest and it looks perfect, it might not always turn out. So I ended up saving this, but I'm not going to recommend this recipe to you. I will put in the description box the recipe for the dough, and then I'll find another frosting recipe for you. But how I saved this was by adding it to a saucepan with some chocolate chips. It was just too runny and not chocolatey and silky like a donut frosting should be. So I put it in a saucepan with some semi-sweet chocolate chips, melted that all together, and then it turned out great. Once your frosting is made, you're ready to frost your donuts. Do not frost these super hot because it'll just melt right off. You want them to be almost completely cool, and then I just dip them in like this. I found that a pie plate worked great because it is big enough for me to fit the donut in. And yeah, once they were frosted, I put sprinkles on them. You don't have to, and you don't have to use chocolate frosting. You could make maple frosting, white vanilla frosting, whatever you like. I just wanted to keep it pretty classic here with chocolate, and yeah, I put sprinkles on them because who doesn't love sprinkles? And that was it. I really, really hope that you try this donut recipe, at least the dough, and like I said, you can use whatever frosting you want on them, but they turned out so good. I hope that you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are new here, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around. And I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye, guys.